ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد، فنتابع القراءة في كتاب الأدب المفرد للإمام البخاري أبي عبد الله محمد بن إسماعيل رحمه الله. باب لا يقولن لشيء لا يعلمه الله تعالى يعلمه. ذكرناه في المرة الماضية أن الإنسان إذا لا يعلم يقول لا يعلم، أما يقول المسألة تكون فيها إشاعة ثم يقول الله أعلم في ذلك، فإذا كان لا يعلم فلا يتكلم بهذه المسألة. Last time we mentioned the chapter that when you don't know something, say I don't know. Don't make assumptions, don't spread rumors and say, oh, Allah knows best. Yeah, Allah knows best, but you should know what you're talking about. If you don't know what you're talking about, don't talk about it. باب قوس قزح. حدثنا الحسن بن عمر قال حدثنا عبد الوارث عن علي بن زيد قال حدثني يوسف بن مهران عن ابن عباس قال المجرة باب أبواب السماء، وأما قوس قزح فأمان من الغرق بعد قوم نوح. هذا الكلام أن يقال لقوس المطر هذا قوس قزح فيه خلاف بين العلماء، فقد جاء نهي أن يقال عنه قوس قزح. فقزح بعض العلماء ذكر أنه من أسماء الشيطان. ذكر النووي في الأذكار من أقبح الألفاظ أن يقال قوس قزح. ذكر فصل يكره أن يقال قوس قزح لهذه التي في السماء، فذكر رواية ابن عباس لا تقول قوس قزح فإن قزح شيطان، ولكن قولوا قوس الله عز وجل فهو أمان لأهل الأرض. فالمسألة فيها خلاف. الظاهر هنا أن الرواية جاءت على ما اعتاد الناس أن يقولوا عنه قوس قزح، فيذكر ابن عباس هذا موقوف عليه أنها أمان من الغرق بعد قوم نوح، وهذا والله أعلم من الأمور يعني التي توصف لا يترتب عليها عمل ما، أن المجرات باب من أبواب السماء وأن قوس قزح أمان. This is a chapter about talking about the rainbow. Rainbow in Arabic is very common to say the bow of quzah, and there's difference between the ulama. Is that permissible to say or not? There's a narration from Ibn Abbas where he say quzah is a type of shaitan, and this is you saying this is the bow of the shaitan. And there's another narration also from Ibn Abbas. Imam Bukhari brought it here saying that the rainbow or qaws quzah is peace for people who are traveling after Nuh, that after the big flood it was cloudy, they couldn't go for 40 days and so on, and then when the sun shined, the first thing they've seen that rainbow, and they knew now it's going to be peace. This one of these matters that it doesn't require any belief from us, doesn't require any amal, anything to do. Just a story mentioned from one of the Sahaba. So some don't mention it, some not. Here, Wallahu A'lam, Imam Bukhari is mentioning it as a response to those you shouldn't say Qaws Quzah. So if you say Qaws al-Matar, the rainbow, as the English word is, the bow of the rain, you're safe this way. If you say Qaws Quzah, you're implying about the phenomena, not the exact what the ancient people meant with it, so people know what you're meaning about. Allahu A'lam. As long as there's no bad intention about it, I don't think there's any harm or anything in particular about it. باب المجرة. حدثنا الحميدي قال حدثنا سفيان عن ابن أبي حسين وغيره عن ابن الطفيل قال سأل ابن الكواء عليا عليه السلام عن المجرة قال هي شرج السماء ومنها فتحت السماء بماء منهمر. ذكرنا هنا مسألة أن يقال علي عليه السلام أن هذه اللفظة فيها خلاف بين العلماء، فبعض العلماء من أجازها لآل البيت خاصة حتى لو لم يكونوا شيعة. قل الحمد لله وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى، فكانوا يروا أن مؤمنين آل البيت هم أحق الناس بهذا اللفظ. وباقي العلماء يروا أن يخصوا بالصلاة عليهم حين يصلى على الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم، لكن على أفرادهم الصحابة منهم أن يقال رضي الله عنهم كما يقال عن باقي الصحابة، حتى لا يظن فيهم تعظيما. فبعض الرافضة يذكرون عليه السلام كأنهم يقارنونهم بالأنبياء. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين. فهنا يقول عليه السلام يضع آل البيت في مرتبة قريبة من رتبة الأنبياء، وبعضهم غال حتى جعلهم في مرتبة أعلى من الأنبياء. فاجتنابا لهذه المسألة الأفضل يقال رضي الله عنه عليه. فهذه رواية عن أن المجرة هي باب من أبواب السماء، منها فتحت السماء بماء منهمر. كما ذكرنا هذه المسألة لا يترتب عليها إيمان، لم ترفع إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، فالغالب فيها أنها كانت معتقدات سائدة في عهدهم، لكنها تنفي أن تكون لها تأثير على حياة الناس. فكان بعض العبادات القديمة يعبد النجوم ويظن أن لها أثر، ويقول مطرنا بنوء كذا وببرج كذا وغير ذلك. فهذا كلها ظاهرات طبيعية تأتمر بأمر الله عز وجل. This is a chapter that's talking about galaxies, stars in general. Astrology was a big thing in the past. People who had some knowledge and had a lot of free time on their hand watched the sky, and they tried to correlate certain phenomena that happen in the sky with the stars and constellation with things happen on Earth. Some of it were true. I mean, you're talking about seasons, and every season there's a star for it and so on. And some of it, instead of association and being a mark, they considered causation. Oh, when this star comes in this galaxy, or they align with this one, it brings rain, it brings so, and they start worshipping the stars. And this is all haram. وَعَلَامَاتٍ وَبِالنَّجْمِ هُمْ يَهْتَدُونَ. These stars and constellations are just signs from Allah. Allah has created it. So when it rains, Allah brought rain. Once Rasulullah was traveling with the Sahaba, it rained at night. When he woke up, he told the Sahaba, some people woke up mu'min and some woke up kafir. Who said we were rained because of such and such star, they're kafir. Who said we were rained because of Allah, they're mu'min. So here the belief was the stars were like a portal to heaven, and from it the rain come and so on. Nowadays we know it's just the clouds that bring the rain. Could be certain phenomena that affect the atmosphere, it can, but all under the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. باب من كره أن يقال اللهم اجعلني في مستقر رحمتك. حدثنا موسى بن إسماعيل قال حدثني أبو الحارث الكرماني قال سمعت رجلا قال لأبي رجاء أقرأ عليك السلام وأسأل الله أن يجمع بيني وبينك في مستقر رحمته. قال هل يستطيع أحد ذلك؟ قال فما مستقر رحمته؟ قال الجنة. قال لم تصب. قال فما مستقر رحمته؟ قال قلت رب العالمين. أي النووي ذكرها أن مستقر الرحمة هي الجنة ودار المقامة ومحل الاستقرار، وإنما يدخلها الداخلون برحمة الله، فمن دخلها استقر فيها. فكأنه يقول اللهم اجمع بيننا في مستقر نناله برحمتك، أن هذا الأولى. كلمة شاعت بين الناس كثير، اللهم اجعلنا في مستقر رحمتك، أو نسأل الله أن يجعله في مستقر رحمته، أن يجعله في مستقر في بلد في مكان أمان يناله برحمة الله عز وجل. This is a chapter Imam Bukhari talking about. There's a word that some people say in Arabic at the end of times when somebody is dying. that they ask Allah put him in mustaqarri rahmati, where his mercy settles. And one of the ulama is saying the settlement, the best settlement is in Jannah, but you earn it with the mercy of Allah. So he says it's better to say, oh Allah, put me in a good dwelling that I will earn it through your mercy. That is better than saying, put me at the settlement of your mercy. So it's kind of just a little bit linguistic thing, but common words that people say it and they don't pay attention to it. فهذه كلها آثار وليست أحاديث. أما الحديث الذي جاء في باب لا تسبوا الدهر، حدثنا إسماعيل قال حدثني مالك عن ابن الزناد عن الأعرج عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا يقولن أحدكم يا خيبة الدهر فإن الله هو الدهر. وفي رواية أبي هريرة الأخرى قال لا يقل أحدكم يا خيبة الدهر، قال الله تعالى أنا الدهر أرسل الليل والنهار فإن شئت قبضتهما، ولا يقولن للعنب الكرم فإن الكرم الرجل المسلم. وجاءت روايات كثيرة نهى، قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تسبوا الدهر فإن الله هو الدهر، أي لا تسبوا فاعل النوازل، فإذا سببتم فاعلها وقع السب على الله عز وجل. فالدهر وهو الزمان مخلوق من جملة ما خلق الله تعالى. جاء في الصحيحين واللفظ البخاري قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الله عز وجل يؤذيني ابن آدم يسب الدهر وأنا الدهر بيدي الأمر أقلب الليل والنهار. The chapter about one should not curse his time. Dahr means time in Arabic. One shouldn't. Allah is time, that means He's the one who creates time. These things, whatever happen, oh, I curse this time, these are doomed times. Allah has willed it. So that means you are not happy with the will of Allah. So you shouldn't be cursing it. It's forbidden to do that. And somebody say, oh, how miserable the times are. No, this is all decree from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then there was another hadith, grapes. In Arabic, sometimes they have a common name, they say karm. Karm means generosity. At that time, before Islam in Arabia, they drink, become generous, they spend a lot. So they call it karm, generosity. And the hadith say, no, don't call the grapes karm, generosity, the generous one is a believer. It was still common word for when you have a vineyard, where I grew up in Syria, they call it karm inab instead of say a vineyard. So it's better to say bustan inab or mazra'at inab rather than karm inab. باب لا يحد الرجل إلى أخيه النظر إذا ولى. هذا من باب الآداب، ليس حديث لكن فيه أثر عن التابعين. حدثنا بشر بن محمد قال أخبرنا عبد الله قال حدثنا حماد بن زيد عن ليث عن مجاهد. المجاهد من علماء التابعين قال يكره أن يحد الرجل إلى أخيه النظر أو يتبعه بصره إذا ولى أو يسأله من أين جئت وأين تذهب. كثرة الفضول، ينظر إليه ماذا يفعل وأين يذهب وأين يعود وأين كذا. فهذا ليس من حسن الخلق، من حسن إسلام المرء تركه ما لا يعنيه. فإذا لا يقوم الإنسان بأمور لا طائلة منها. لكن كانت عادات كثيرة خصوصا في مجالسهم كانت في الطرقات، فيأتي المرء ويذهب وينظر من ذهب ومن اشترى، ومن باب الفضول ليس عندهم شيء آخر يفعلونه. This is a chapter that relates to a saying of a tabi'i. This tabi'i is Mujahid. Mujahid was one of the ulama of the tabi'in. In it he said that it is not forbidden, it's disliked that somebody will stare at his brother or follow him every time he comes and goes, like being nosy and curious. What is he doing? Where is he going? And so on. He's referring, there's a hadith say that it is a sign of good Islam that you mind your business. So don't be nosy, want to know everybody, what everybody doing and not. At that time was very common. They didn't have entertainment. So when the sun cools down towards the end of the day, usually they have a shaded area, they sit underneath, they might drink some milk and eat some dates, and they talk. So every time somebody passes by, they watch everybody going back and forth. And there's a narration from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He told him, don't sit on these gathering areas near the roads. He said, we can't. This is the old gathering. He said, if you do, you need to give the road its right. So what is the right of the road? Say if somebody asks for direction, you give him direction. If a woman passes by, you should lower your gaze, and so on. So you should be respectful. So it was common at that time. So here, Mujahid, from what he learned from the Sahaba, that it's best that you don't be nosy and trying to figure out what everybody is doing. If it's not your business, let it be. باب قول الرجل للرجل ويلك. الويل هنا كأنك تحذره أو تخوفه بشيء عظيم من العقاب. حدثنا موسى قال حدثنا همام عن قتادة عن أنس أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم رأى رجلا يسوق بدنة. البدنة غالبا تذكر في الناقة وأحيانا تذكر في البقر. عند العرب كان الإبل أشيع من البقر. فقال اركبها، فقال إنها بدنة، قال اركبها، قال إنها بدنة، قال اركبها، قال إنها بدنة، قال اركبها ويلك. فحذره الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم. أي كأنها لأنها ناقة أرادها من أجل اللبن فلا يريد أن يتعبها، أو أنه ينوي أن ينحرها وليست يعني للحمل وللمسير. عادة تذكر أنها بدنة إذا كان مخصصة للأكل. والبدن جعلناها لكم من شعائر الله. فهذه الحيوانات مجهزة للذبح من الإبل والبقر قالوا لها بدنة. فهنا أنه لا يسوقها ولا يستفيد منها ولم يصل إلى مكان ذبحها. فرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يعلمه أن يستطيع أن يركبها وإن كان ينوي أن يذبحها طالما أنه لا يحملها فوق ما لا تطيق. فحذره ويلك استجب لما أقول لك. So this is a chapter about you can warn somebody. The word in Arabic waylak, waylun lak, is like I'm warning you, something bad gonna happen to you. It's a figure of speech. They use it a lot in Arabia when somebody is not listening to a good advice. Waylun lil mutaffifin. So warning of severe punishment. Some people say it is a special valley in hellfire. It's a warning. So here the hadith, once Rasulullah saw a man taking a she camel that is dedicated to be slaughtered. So once called to be slaughtered, they call it badana. So when Rasulullah he saw it pulling it, since they're pulling it, you can ride it until you reach the market where you're going to sell it or slaughter it. He said, but it is for meat. Say, ride it. 3 times did I ride it? He says, for meat. Say, ride it. Waylak. Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you something better for you. If not, you're warning, you're losing something good. وحدثنا إبراهيم بن المنذر قال حدثنا أبو علقمة عبد الله بن محمد بن عبد الله بن أبي فروة قال حدثني المسور بن رفاعة القرظي قال سمعت ابن عباس ورجل يسأله يقول إني أكلت خبزا ولحما فقال ويحك أيتوضأ من الطيبات؟ كأن هذا الرجل يسأله أنه إذا أكل الخبز واللحم هل يتوضأ؟ فقال له ابن عباس ويحك أيتوضأ من الطيبات؟ هذا أمر يعني احتجت أن تغسل لكن لا يتوضأ منها، لم يأتي بها شيء. فويحك تشبه ويلك، يحذره من أمر سيء، لكن كما ذكرنا أنها تفعل من باب أن يعلم الإنسان أن ما يفعله شيء غيره أولى به. So similar to the word waylak, there is another word in Arabic, wayhak, which also you're warning him that this person is either going to do something bad or missing on something good. So once Ibn Abbas was sitting and one was asking him, should he make wudu after he eats bread and meat? And Ibn Abbas said, wayhak, you make wudu from something Allah made it pure and delicious for you to eat? Why would you do that? They're referring probably to barbecue. There was at some point narration that al-wudu mimma massathu nar, that anything that's grilled and touched directly by fire, you should make wudu from it. And then there was narrations where Rasulullah initially said you should make it, and then another narration said that it is permissible not to make wudu from barbecue or anything that's touched by fire. So probably the man was referring to it. So Ibn Abbas saying, this is something Allah made it pure for us to eat, it's delicious, why should you make wudu from it? وحدثنا علي قال حدثنا سفيان قال حدثني أبو الزبير عن جابر قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يوم حنين بالجعرانة، كما ذكرنا هذه الجعرانة موضع ما بين مكة والطائف. هذا بعد أن رجعوا من الطائف وأخذوا الغنائم من حنين. والتبر في حجر بلال، التبر الذهب الذي لم يصهر بعد، ما زال خاما، فكان في حجر بلال بين رجليه، وهو يقسم يعطي هذا كذا وهذا كذا. فجاء رجل فقال اعدل فإنك لا تعدل. هذا أول الخوارج. قال ويلك، الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم يحذره، فمن يعدل إذا لم أعدل؟ قال عمر دعني يا رسول الله أضرب عنق هذا المنافق. إذن حين اتهام رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بأنه ليس عادل، هذا نفاق وكفر. فقال إن هذا مع أصحاب له أو في أصحاب الله يقرؤون القرآن لا يجاوز تراقيهم يمرقون من الدين كما يمرق السهم من الرمية. كان هؤلاء أولهم. نظن إذا ما وزع هذا الذهب يزنه ويقيسه كل إنسان يأخذ كما مقدار أنه ليس بالعدل. ورسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقسم به ما أوحى له الله، فيعطي المؤلفة قلوبهم ويعطي كذا ويعطي كذا، ويجد أهل التقى وأهل البر أنهم أعفوا عن هذا فيعطيهم أقل. فهذا من نظر الإمام في هذه المسألة، فهو يرى فيها ما يرى. هنا هذا الرجل بقراءته للقرآن ظن أن هذا ليس من العدل، فتحدى أعلم الناس بشرع الله رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال له اعدل. So once, this is a famous story. So we mentioned before, after the Muslims came back from Hunayn in the Ta'if, and they gained a lot of spoils of war. So halfway through the road, an area called Ja'ran, and they started splitting these spoils of war. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam favored the newcomers to Islam more than the old ones, because he felt the old ones are well established in Islam and they're not after dunya. The newcomers still, they're fresh, they're not strong in Iman. So if they give him more, they become stronger in their Iman and they see, yeah, this deed is good for deen and dunya, so I can benefit from it. So when he started splitting these spoils, one man told Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, be fair. You're not splitting it fairly. And Rasulullah said, Waylak, warn you, severe punishment. Who will be fair if I'm not fair? So here, got this stupid person, he read some Quran, he thinks if you don't split it exactly by weight, by measurement, everybody get the same thing, that this is unfairness. And he doesn't understand the hikmah that Allah gave Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that you have the choice, you can decide where it need to be put. So you don't have, you got, I don't know, 5,000 followers, we weigh each one of that, give 1 gram, everybody will get 1 gram or 2 grams or 3 grams. He felt, Rasulullah, that it's better put on in people that will benefit you later, and you have people established in Islam, they already got some spoils before, they're gonna get more, but now at this point, most of the army were new Muslims after conquering Mecca, so they're not well established in Islam yet. They were just enemies a year ago. So he's trying to soften their hearts. So if I'm not fair, who's fair? So Umar Khattab said, let me cut the neck of this munafiq. Hibak is kufr, to accuse Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he's not fair. So Rasulullah sallallahu said to him, he has friends, companions like him. They read Quran, it doesn't go beyond their throats. Their fear or their chance of knowing the deen is as much as an arrow takes from a prey when it hit it and go through it. How much the arrow will take from that prey? Nothing. Just hit it, puncture it, go through. That's how much they know of religion. They know just the appearance of it. They don't have the... And there's another narration where Rasulullah say, from the offsprings of this people, from this person, there will be people describing the Khawarij, they read the Quran and so on, they don't understand it, and the Khawarij are like these people. So here Rasulullah used the word waylak, warn you. حدثنا سهل بن بكار قال حدثنا الأسود بن شيبان عن خالد بن سمير عن بشير بن نهيك عن بشير وكان اسمه زحم بن معبد. هذا ابن الصحابي في الجاهلية كان اسمه زحم بن معبد، فهاجر إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال ما اسمك؟ قال زحم. قال بل أنت بشير. يعني الزحم يعني كلمة فيها ضيق وفيها أذى، أما البشير كلمة فيها خير. فقال بينما أنا أمشي مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذ مر بقبور المشركين فقال لقد سبق هؤلاء خيرا كثيرا، فاتهم الخير الكثير. فقالها 3 مرات. فمر بقبور المسلمين فقال لقد أدرك هؤلاء خيرا كثيرا، قالها 3. فحانت من النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم نظرة فرأى رجلا يمشي في القبور، أي بين القبور وفوق القبور، وعليه نعلان، فقال يا صاحب السبتيتين. السبتية كان نوع من النعال يلبسونها يقال لها السبتية. ألقي سبتيتيك. فنظر الرجل فلما رأى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم خلع عليه فرمى بهما، أي أنه منهي المشي فوق القبور، وإذا مشى بين القبور وخشي أن يطأ منها شيئا أن يخلع عليه من باب الأدب في هذه المسألة. I'm not sure why Imam Bukhari brought this. There's no why here in this narration, but he put it in the same chapter. The Sahabi, there's a Sahabi that was known as Bashir. He said his name wasn't Bashir early on. In Jahiliyyah, his name was Zaham. Zaham is like tight space and fighting and so on. It's like tightness. It's not a good name, but it was common in Arabia. They use rough names to scare their enemies. Aqra and Hanzala and so on. The bald one, the Duray, the one has no teeth, and so on. They did use like rough names. So Hassan said, no, your name is Bashir. Bashir, the one who brings good news. So since then, Sayyidina is Bashir. And then when he's walking, they passed by the graveyard. And there was graveyard for mushrikeen, graveyard for Muslims. So tell you from that time, they split them. They would not, mushrikeen, they bury their own people, Muslims bury on. They don't mix the graves together. So when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed by the mushrikeen and said, these people have missed a lot of good things. Iman, you're gonna miss Jannah. So he said it 3 times. And he passed by the grave of the Muslims, say, those have reached adraka. Those have reached and gained a lot of good things. They reach Islam, they get the mercy of Allah, go into Jannah. He said 3 times. And then he saw somebody who's walking between these graves with his shoes on. So he called him, or the person who wearing their certain specific shoes called sabtiyatayn. Looks like they were kind of fancy type of leather shoes at that time. So the person with the sabtiyah, so he knows that who he's talking about. Looks like not everybody wore it. Say, take it off. So he looked, well, who's taking that? When he saw Rasulullah, he understood. He took it off right away. So that means as a sign of respect, if you're in a graveyard, you're not allowed to step over the graves. And if you're not sure, you take your shoes off. Because at that time, not all the graves had headstone. Rasulullah advised that they make a heap of dirt on it and a headstone so people recognize it, will not sit on it, will not step on it. But sometimes with time it might get flat. So if you walk in graveyard, you're not sure, you take your shoes off. So I said, I'm not sure why Imam al-Bukhari put it here. There's no way like here. It is the whole chapter about it is permissible to warn someone by using the word waylak or wayhak. الملعونة هن زوارات القبور. فبعض العلماء الحنابلة يروا عدم جواز النساء زيارة القبور، لكن هناك حديث من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه نهى عن زيارة القبور ثم أجاز ذلك. فالمنهي عنه كثرة زيارة القبور. فالمرأة قد تذهب إلى قبر أبيها وأخيها وزوجها وغير ذلك وتندب وتفعل وكذا وتكرر وتكرر وتكرر، هذا المنهي عنه. أما أن يذهب للدعاء لهم وأن يتعظ أحيانا جاز ذلك. الله أعلم. هذا خلاصة قول العلماء في المسألة.
يعني
بعض الأحيان نعم.
يعني
مش دائما. مثلا تذكرت أبيها بعد سنة أو أخيها أو ابنها وغيره، ذهبت فقرأت له ما شاء من القرآن، دعت له ما شاءت من الأدعية من غير تبرج، من غير اختلاط مع الرجال، من غير شق للجيوب وندب وضرب وغير ذلك، جاز ذلك. أما أن تكثر يكون ديدنا كل يوم تذهب، فهذا المنهي عنه. The brother asked a question about women visiting graves. There's some controversy between ulama about it, because there is a hadith about Allah has cursed a woman who always visit graves, zawarat. Zawarat is not a person who visits once, the one who always visits the graves. So at that time it was some habit, some women from grieving, they keep going. They go in a day, a week, a month, a year, every day they go in, they weep, and sometimes they make a scene, and they kind of tear off their clothes, their hair showing, or they're mixed with men, and so on. So this is forbidden. How about occasionally? There's a hadith from Rasulullah ﷺ. He said, I have forbidden women from visiting graves. Now I permit them to visit the graves. So you combine that with it means occasionally going to make dua for the dead person, whether she knows them personally or general for the Muslims, and to remember death and hereafter, it is permissible. To make it a frequent habit, it's not permissible. Allah. I know in Hanbali Madhab in Saudi Arabia, they don't like women visiting graves at all and say, okay, women should not visit the graves. But I said, most of the other madahib, they combine the two hadith where it is sometimes permissible as long as she's wearing proper Islamic hijab, she's not mixing up with men, and she's keeping decency in her visit. Allahu A'lam.
Or when you go to the maqbara taking the shoes off, it's not a general sunnah to take the shoes off when you go to the maqbara. It's only for if you're not sure about the pathway.
Exactly. If you're gonna be walking between the graves and you're not sure you might be stepping on the graves, you have to take them off. If you're sure where the graves, like most graveyards nowadays, they're marked. So you walk between the graves, you don't walk on the grave or sit on the grave. Allahu Akbar. So inshallah we'll start from the book of Hadith at this point. We'll read the book of Fiqh. We started reading a little booklet that Imam al-Albani early on in his life wrote it about the fiqh of Salatul Jumu'ah. At that time he was in Damascus. The Damascus University students have a masjid where they pray Jumu'ah, and they have certain questions about it because they've seen different madahib. In Damascus at that time, 3 madahib were very common: Hanafi, Shafi'i, and Hanbali. Hardly anybody Maliki in Syria, other than in Arabia, in the eastern part, in the western part, in Medina, you have some Maliki, and the rest of them all North Africa, the Maliki. So in Syria there wasn't. But so they hear different madahib saying different things about Salatul Jumu'ah. So they ask him about these questions, and he's answering his methodology, and that's why I'm bringing the book. It's more about the methodology, how he's reaching the conclusion, whether you agree with it or not, but understanding how the ulama make the ijtihad. When you base it on hadith, on Quran and hadith, and understanding the way the Sahaba understood it and practiced it, you reach a conclusion, and the alim might reach one conclusion or another, but you understand why they're doing it. It's not like, oh, if you're following this madhab, you do this, you follow this madhab, you do this. For a common person, yes. For somebody who's have some basic understanding, you need to understand why the ulama are doing it. Now, the purpose of this is for us, is more like dhikra. This is, we're trying to understand the deen of Allah. We're not fooling ourselves. We're not going to be alim. We're not going to be giving fatwa. I'm not myself alim. I'm not even a student of knowledge. I haven't gone through official dedicated Islamic study, but it is for us. We all need to understand our religion and how, when we hear different ulama saying different things, how they're reaching that conclusion. Make it easier for us to follow it, understand it, and then understand those who disagree with us, or you see something different, why it's different. And most time you will understand that either it is permissible, there's a hadith about describing it, or there's different way of understanding the same text, that this is ijtihad. You might agree with ijtihad, but the other one is not like fabricating it. It's rarely the differences in madahib, one is clear sunnah, one is clear bid'ah. It's ijtihad. One understand the text way, one understand the text in another way. So we talked in the last couple of weeks about the timing of Salatul Jumu'ah, and we said where Rasulullah sallam was in multiple ahadith done Salatul Jumu'ah before noon, exactly at noon, or shortly after noon. So he done it at the time of Salatul Dhuhr or before Salatul Dhuhr, so that it is permissible to do that. And we talk about the adhan, that the original adhan of time of Rasulullah ﷺ was one adhan, one iqama. So some people say 2 adhan. They consider iqama as form of adhan. So the first one, the imam goes in the masjid, says Salamu Alaikum, the mu'adhin outside the masjid, or on the top of the masjid, or in front of the masjid, declared to everybody, make the adhan. And then once the khutbah is done, the mu'adhin inside the masjid makes iqama. And then at the time of Uthman, the Medina got bigger, the souk, the market, moved a little bit farther away from the masjid. So if they're calling it the adhan first one, they might not hear it there, or if they hear it, it will take them too long to close their shops, make their wudu and come. They might miss the whole khutbah or the salah. So he made a first adhan, which will make now the whole adhan 3, where it starts before the imam come to the masjid, calling the people in the souk, in the area called Zawra. So people close their shops, make their wudu, and make it to the masjid. Then the imam enters, and so on. So Imam al-Albani was saying, just because Uthman did it and the Sahaba agreed to it, doesn't mean it's a new sunnah. That means it's permissible if you have the same circumstances at the time of Uthman. That you have people far away from the masjid, they need early reminder, you do that. Nowadays, hardly is the case. most people know when the time of the salah, we all have timers and so on. And to call the adhan in the masjid 3 times, it's not the sunnah, it's 2 times. So it's best to stick to the sunnah. Now, if you are in an area where people are far away, you put a microphone for them to hear, and mu'adhin call early on for the people who are far away to make it, that's permissible to do that. So, depending on the circumstance. So that Uthmani adhan is depending on the circumstances. Permitted if there is a reason for it. If it is no reason for it, don't do it. That's basically his opinion.
So, Sheikh, like basically in our countries, like back home, so they do the first adhan, like people start coming from the home. So I think the opinion of Uthman radiallahu anhu still applies there.
Yeah, so that's the same. If there's a purpose for it, yes. So you're not doing it because, oh, this is the sunnah. No, this is a permissible Buddha, let's put it this way. Buddha in the sense it was the time for Rasulullah, but it's not Buddha in the sense it was following the reasoning and all the Sahaba agreed to it. Once they agreed to it, there's ijma', then it's not Buddha anymore.
So did this become part of some of the madahib? As a sunnah?
So almost Jumhur ulama, that's the third adhan, adhan Uthman, that's it. This, all the Sahaba agreed to it, you make always third adhan, the first one. So it became like a common practice, hardly anybody not doing it. And Imam al-Albani with his opinion, well, if you need it, you do it. But it's not like the first and second adhan where you have to do it. This one is like, you need it, you can do it. And then he mentioned something about the minaret. That at the time of the Sahaba, there was no minaret. So masjid did not have manara. So they just either go on the top of the masjid, or there's a house next to the masjid, go on top of it and call adhan. Bilal or Ibn Maktoum, they'll go on top of it. There's a ladder. The person who owns the place permitted them to do that. They'll climb on it. It was like high enough to call everybody to it. Later on, when the houses start getting bigger and so on, they dedicated a minaret for it. So minara is not an essential part of the masjid. If it has a purpose, you do it. No purpose, you don't have. Or this is not masjid, it doesn't have a minaret. No. If you can have a speaker anywhere higher up in Muslim countries, you don't need. And you see some masajid, they have like 6 minaret, 10 minarets, and they make it bigger and bigger. Now, you see like Al-Masjid al-Nabawi, Al-Masjid al-Haram, it was so big that they have minaret at every corner, so the mu'adhin will call people that far away so they can hear it. Nowadays, with mics and so on, you hardly need it. So the whole minaret became like more a symbol, but it's not exactly an Islamic symbol. In a sense, it was done for a necessity. There is nothing telling you have to do it. It's the same thing like the crescent and the star. A lot of people consider it now Islamic symbol. It's not. It was the Turkish, the Ottoman, adopted it as their symbol, and then people considered it Islamic symbol. It's not an Islamic symbol. I remember once I was reading a book of Mormons, and they're trying to say, oh, Muslims worship moon. And you can tell how their symbol is the moon, their God is the God of the moon, and they say, no, what are you talking about? This is like a symbol later on adopted by one government, and just referring to that the moon people follow to know the beginning of the month for Ramadan, and so on, but it doesn't, it has no Islamic symbology to it. It's just one country adopted it, and there's a lot of countries. Pakistan has it, Morocco has it, and then there's Malaysia, and I think there's like probably 10, 15 Muslim countries where they put the crescent and the star in it, but it is just a symbol, but it's not an Islamic part.
So Sheikh, like, coming to the moon, right, like for Ramadan beginning, like we usually spot like global sighting. So a lot of mosques in Texas, and they started following the calculations.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what do we follow in Louisville? Like,
so most of the masajid here decided they're gonna follow global sighting. But any Muslim country seeing it, they will accept it. And since they don't trust most Muslim countries, they decided to follow what they do in Mecca. Because if you follow a lot of Muslim countries, a lot of times political. So I know in times of Syria, it depends. If they have good relation, Assad government with Saudi Arabia, whatever Saudi announce, they announce. If they don't, they follow whatever Iran is doing. and so every country made it political. And people know in Saudi Arabia, they have a system where the shuyukh are in control of it, not the government. So usually they have committees in every area. They go, their expertise in sighting the moon, and then they go to a Muslim judge, Qadi Shari, and they give him that. He knows them, take them with the witnesses, and then they will declare it. So they have a system. And a lot of Muslim countries do have that, but a lot of them will go through an official government minister of Islamic Affairs, which is signed by government and might influence them one way or another. So I think here the most masajid has agreed they're gonna follow global sighting. And we mentioned when we talk about the fiqh of Ramadan, that the Muslims in one locality should agree on a way of following it. Either you follow any Muslim, or you follow in your immediate vicinity, anybody seeing it. So somebody saw it in Chicago or Texas, yeah, this is general. Somebody saw it in Alaska only, in Hawaii, that's far away. So they might see it and you're not seeing it. There are certain calculations are kind of permissible when they give you probability. So when the moon rises and sets before sunset, so the moon was born, let's say an hour before sunset, and set 15 minutes after or before sunset, that means after sunset you're not going to see it. So by then you can be sure it's going to be the next day. But if it is in this gray area where the moon can be seen, it's usually you need certain time of the moon to be able to be seen. If it is between 6 hours and I think 10 hours, maybe. Less than 6 hours, more people say even with a telescope you're not going to see it. If it is 20 hours or more, everybody will see it. Naked eye, and so on. So that's why calculation might help you with that. When it's clear, yes, clear, no. But in the middle, you need to see it. And I think ISNA in the past used to do that. Remember when we were here 30 years ago, always followed ISNA because that it could be there. And then at some point, they decided, no, they're going to go with calculation only. So, and that's what you have people find. So at the end, the people, they're leading the message to common consensus. It's more important that everybody in the locality fast one day and break their fast on the same day, all together. So there will be one community, at least in one locality. And every government, wherever you live in, you need to follow what the government is doing. So if you live in Turkey where they do only calculation, you follow the calculation. You're not going to be fasting a day before, not, except for Eid al-Adha. That has to be whatever they say in Mecca. You cannot be fasting Arafah and people not standing on Arafah. So that has to be. This is like ijma' everywhere. Although some people still following their calculations. You know, for us Arafah is a day before Mecca or a day after, which makes no sense.
Like coming to moon setting before sun.
Yeah.
Afghanistan and a couple of countries, they had a day before Saudi Arabia and us, and the moon set before the sun.
Yeah.
In Afghanistan for sure, but they also like go to the judge and.
Yeah. So somebody who's not going to be a liar say, no, I saw it after sunset because it doesn't count. It's before sunset. That's the day before. The day in Islamic calendar start after sunset. So if somebody saw it before, well, that's the day before. How about now? So somebody you have no reason to doubt and tells you, I've seen it, Islamic court should accept it. But now that's where combining it with the calculations, a lot of Islamic courts will take it, say, how do you see it? It's not possible to be seen. So that's where the mufti of the locality of that Muslim country should make. Is that calculation really trustworthy? Because there are a lot of factors that go in it. The moon doesn't have the same distance from Earth all the time. The orbit around it is not a complete circle. It's elliptical. So at some point, it's closer to Earth, sometimes farther away from Earth. For the same time, when it is, what they call it, the birth of the moon, when the shadow of the Earth moves from the moon and now the sun reflects on part of it. So sometimes 6 hours is enough that you can see it because it's close enough. As long as 6 hours is far away, you cannot see it. And then which part of Earth are you on, north or equator or south? That will affect it, the angle of it. And that's not talking about clouds and everything else. The elevation, are you at sea level, higher than sea level, below sea level? So there's a lot of factors can affect the sighting. That's why calculation cannot be 100% accurate. But I said it can help you probably, 80, 90% of the time. Where it's definitely going to be big, everybody will see it. Definitely going to be small, nobody will see it, or maybe. And that's where the sighting goes in. Yeah, but at the end, I look at it for years and years. At the end, all agree in one thing and just do it. Yeah. يوم صومكم يوم يصوم الناس ويوم فطركم يوم يفطر الناس. Your fasting starts when everybody fasts. Your Eid, you break your fast when everybody breaks their fast. So if they've done it rightly or wrongly, Allah Ghafur Rahim. He's not going to miss you. You're not going to miss Laylatul Qadr because, I've done it a day before or a day after. It comes from Allah. It's a gift from Allah. He knows what's in your heart. He will gift you. He's merciful. Try at least to read one chapter and then inshallah make adhan. And then we talk about sunnah. Before Jum'ah, there is no sunnah before Jum'ah. You pray sunnah tahiyyat al-masjid, but there's no specific number of rak'ah to do like dhuhr. Dhuhr, you do 2 rak'ah or 4 rak'ah. In Jum'ah, no. You do at least 2 just because you enter the masjid. And after that, you can just sit. You can pray 20 rak'ah, whatever you want. There's no specific sunnah for it. No.
There's no tahiyyat al-masjid for the khatib, right?
No, for khatib, no. Because he's just going to go to the member right away. And the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he goes from his house, enters there, says salam, and so on. Yeah. Not for the khatib. أما بعد صلاة الجمعة فجاءت روايات فكان أحيانا يصلي بعد الجمعة ركعتين في بيته وأحيانا يصلي ركعتين في المسجد وركعتين في بيته فالظاهر أن المسألة فيها خيار. So after صلاة الجمعة Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم sometimes he'll pray 2 rak'ah at home. Or we might pray 2 rak'ah in the masjid, 2 rak'ah at home. So there's no specific number for it. See some of the brothers, they finish salah, they leave, that's fine. Or they have time, they pray, that's okay. Or you can pray 2 rak'ah and then go home, pray another 2 rak'ah. You can do that. في رواية من كان منكم مصليا بعد الجمعة فليصلي 4 وهي رواية لمسلم لكن ذكر أن يعني المسألة بالخيار إما ركعتين بركعتين ركعتين في المسجد وركعتين في بيته أما نصلي 4 دائما فهذا يعني ذكر أنه ليس سنة مؤكدة. إن شاء الله نقف هنا وانصار وقت الأذان دقيقة. بعد الصلاة إن شاء الله نأخذ الأسئلة والأجوبة لمن شاء أن يبقى. So after the صلاة العشاء, if have the invited questions, we can go with questions and answers. Those who want to leave, that's fine. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
Allah.